morning, everybody. It's so good to see all these cute faces. I see all these smiles here. Sunshine, right? That and the Pride event yesterday. I'm still smiling from that. So our opening reading today is called We're Glad You Are Here by Amanda Schubert. If this is your first time or your 100th and first time to be here, we are glad you are here. If you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, or if you came in those doors dancing and singing with your heart skipping a beat, we are glad you are here. If you are the loudest voice in the town square, or the subtlest little working of hands behind the scenes, we are so glad you are here. If you have failed once or 1,000 times, we are glad you are here. If you sing like angels or mumble behind the hymnal, we are glad you are here. This community is what it is because of you. This community is what it is because of you. And we are so, so glad you are here. My name is Rosanna Olmai, and I am a member of the board here at QUF. And as we gather, I'd like to acknowledge the land and the water and the shorelines here in Port Townsend as their traditional territory of the Sklallam and Chimicum and many other peoples. We honor and acknowledge our Indigenous members and neighbors, and we vow to help restore and sustain their homelands. If you are visiting today, I offer a special welcome to you, whether you're here or online. And if you're here, please feel free to join us afterwards. There's a little table in the corner right outside the doors here where you can sign up for information and newsletters, and there will be people here to answer questions for you. Join us in the fellowship hall for coffee, and there's going to be cookies, going to be goodies. So we're glad you're here, and we invite you to stay. Did I hear yay for cookies? Yay! So, announcements. Who remembers what's important about today? Our president has her first hand. Today is our annual meeting, our once-a-year gathering to go over things, talk, share, discuss, and vote. Vote, vote, vote. So I'm very glad to see this many people here, and I'm hoping for about 15 or 20 more by my count. Maybe they will come at lunchtime. So we're going to finish our service today, have our coffee hour and cookies. We've invited you ahead of time to bring something to eat, but there'll be coffee and cookies and maybe a few other things. So at 12:20, we ask you to come back to those long tables in the hallway and start signing in. We invite all of our friends to stay to see what's going on, but this is a members-only voting procedure. So we need the members to sign in starting around 12:20, and by 12:30, we hope to be starting our meeting led by our president, Sarah Walker. And we hope to be finished around maybe 2. We'll see. We'll see. I've had several people say, how long? So we'll see. And then we can all clean up and be done. So, everybody take a deep breath. It's a beautiful day.
Anybody else get chills? Thank you so much, choir. And thank you, Pat. Our opening words are by Kurt Lodman Copeland. We are called to gather and worship as a beloved community. We are called to set aside distractions and anxieties. We are called here that we might touch deeper springs and be renewed. We are called to seek and share comfort for the hurts and conflicts. We are called to desire more love, more justice, and life more abundant. We are called to truth, to mercy, to humility, to courage. Let us answer the call with the yes of our life. It is good to be together this morning. Will you join me, please, in the words for lighting our chalice? Ooh, look at that. We forgot to light the candle. One moment, please. Yeah, well, I should have thought of it. Have you memorized them now? Okay. Please join me. We light this chalice, symbolic of the warmth of community and the brightness of love brings to the world, illuminating our search for justice and peace, light, that force that nurtures all living things, here in the midst of flame, so tiny and so significant. Let's join in singing our opening hymn. It's number 12 in the gray hymnal if you need the music, and the words will be projected.
All life that maketh all things new, uploading earth our thoughts within, our pilgrim feet with thy dew, in gladness hither turn again. From hand to hand the greeting flows, from high to high the signals run, from heart to heart the bright hope glows, the singers of the light are one. One in the freedom of the truth, one in the joy of paths untrod, one in the soul's perennial youth, one in the hundredth thought of God. Love reaches depth, the fuller breadth, the wide horizon's grander view, the sense of life that knows no death, the life that maketh all things new.
Invite any children present to come up and join me for a story. You know, one of the funnest things I get to do is choosing children's books to read every week. It's really fun. Would you like to come up? Good. I bet you were at the Pride celebration yesterday. Were you? I can see it on your face. Anyone else? Children, childlike, childish. So the book today is The Curious Garden by Peter Brown. I'm going to read it like this. You guys can see all the pictures up there, and you and I can see the pictures here. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. However, there was one boy who loved being outside, even on drizzly days when everyone else stayed inside. You could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. What do you think he did? Went up, huh? Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last thing he had expected to find up there, but when he took a closer look, it became clear the plants were dying. Ah, yeah, thank you. They needed a gardener. Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. As the weeks rolled by, As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless and wanted to explore. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Over the next few months, Liam and the curious garden explored every corner of the railway. Look at that. That's magical, isn't it? Look at all those daisies. Even more. Do you see the tar where the old railway left some yucky stuff around? After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring, and after 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Winter had taken its toll on the garden. But thanks to Liam's planning and his handy new tools and a little help from the sun, the plants soon woke from their winter sleep. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about the old forgotten things. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong, and others mysteriously popped up all at once. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. Well, look at that, huh? Look at all those people coming to help. Lots of people helping. Lots of people creating lots of gardens. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. Isn't that wonderful? It's amazing what people together can do, isn't it? As a community, you can really make a big difference in the world. And this is just one small example of doing that. We're going to be talking about that. I'm going to be talking about that with the adults today. So I think it's time for you all to move to your classes. So if the folks along the aisle would rise and form an arch, and we'll sing everyone out.
Come and peace, may the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
We pause now for a time of generosity and to receive an offering which today goes to Discovery Behavioral Healthcare, DBH, which provides quality, holistic, community-based behavioral health services that allow families and individuals throughout the communities of East Jefferson County the opportunity to achieve their best. To accomplish this, DBH offers a continuum of care that includes mental health counseling, substance use disorder treatment, psychiatric medication management, medication-assisted treatment, and outreach services to the community for those who wish to access behavioral health services. Our crisis services are available around the clock to ensure our community members are linked with the most appropriate treatment options available. I invite Jim Novelli, CEO of DBH, to share a little with us. Jim? And the ushers will come among you. Oh, that's sweet. Sorry.
Well, thank you all for having me here today. I appreciate it, and for your generosity. DBH has been part of this community probably getting on to 50 years. It's been here for a long time. It is the Community Mental Health Center. It started out as Jefferson Mental Health Services, for those that probably remember that. I don't, because I wasn't here at that time, but I'm a transplant. And then it changed to Jefferson Community Counseling Center, and then it added doing business as Discovery Behavioral Health Care. And people may wonder, why did we add Discovery Behavioral Health Care? Because the vision for DBH eventually is to also offer primary care under its roof to those we serve, to make easier access to get those services. The people we generally serve are the most severe and persistent mental illness. People who have strong cases of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, those kinds of things that takes medication management, case management, therapy to some extent, and we follow those people to help them become the best they can be in the community. We also do offer services to those that might not have those severe of a mental illness, but our primary mission is those with the severe and persistent. We are a Medicaid provider. Our funding is all through Medicaid, and if anybody knows anything about funding, Medicaid does not pay a lot. Okay, but we are our contracts demand that we take Medicaid first, but we try to add those that also have private insurance. We also serve those that don't have any funding and help them find that funding. Our crisis services are open to anybody in the community, regardless of funding, regardless of insurance, and even if you have no money. And that's our biggest thing, 24/7. And what our goal is there is to help people get access to those services, to link them to our agency, or to other services that may be a better fit for them to help them in that community at that moment of crisis. The main goal of crisis also is to help prevent suicide and help those people that might be in that throes of having that kind of thought or those kinds of things occurring in their life. Recently, we've added a new program that opened up into the whole Salish region, and it's called the REAL program, which stands for Recovery, Empowerment, Advocacy, and Linkage. This is a group of people that work for us that go out into the streets, go out into the forests, go out into the woods, and locate people that are living there, that are struggling with their lives, maybe struggling with substance use disorders, struggling with mental health issues. Usually those kind of occur together, unfortunately. And we try to help those people avoid law enforcement, try to keep them from getting arrested as a bridge. and get them in service. It's all voluntary. They can either accept our services or refuse our services, but it's been pretty successful, and it's been in place about 2.5 years now. And our team goes out there on an everyday basis. They're available 24/7 to help link with these individuals that may have that kind of severe need, to really kind of get them somewhere into housing if possible. As we know, housing is a problem here in Port Townsend, as it is pretty much anywhere on the peninsula in some respects, is to engage people so they can really get the best services possible. I have a dedicated team. We have grown. You know, when COVID hit, the question was how things were going to happen with small agency, but we've grown. We've actually doubled in size. I have 62 total employees now, and we are still growing and trying to grow. It's very hard in a competitive market. You know, we have a larger an organization to the west of us over in Port Angeles, but I collaborate with them. I collaborate with pretty much any of the agencies in our area too, because we all work together to really to share the common good, to help all those that are in need. I work with the Women's Shelter, OLICAP, Bayside. We're all there together at the table. In fact, since I've been there, we started this thing called the Behavioral Health Consortium, in which people come together that deal with behavioral health and try to figure out what's the next steps for the community and what would be best served in the community. But at Discovery Behavioral Health Care, I'm glad to be kind of a leading agency to kind of pull this all together and try to help the people in our community, especially those that have severe and persistent mental illness, and making sure they have a safe place to come to get the services they need and not be left down on the roadside. So I don't know if you have any questions, if that's allowed. You can ask some questions, but I was supposed to talk about 5 minutes. I don't know if I ate 5 minutes up yet. My poor wife is sitting out in the car somewhere, so.
What did you say the name of your organization is?
Discovery Behavioral Health Care, right? DBH, yep. So a lot of times they call us Discovery Behavioral Health, but there is a national group that's that, and we're not them, so we're healthcare.
Where are you from?
We are in the industrial park, 884 West Park Avenue, and we have 2 offices. We have one at 884 West Park, and then we have one at 686 Lake Street, and that's our substance use disorder program. And currently we're very busy, of course, as we all know, and reading the papers about the fentanyl crisis and what's going on, and so we're very active in helping people try to get through that process. We do offer what we call medicated assisted treatment, which we give individuals Suboxone, which is a drug basically, to help them titrate off of fentanyl and to hopefully engage in counseling services so they can beat the addiction eventually. So, thank you. Yes?
The real team that you have, is that nationwide?
No, it was something that started here in the state of Washington. Its actual real name is a Recovery Navigator Program, and every county or pretty much has one. Ours is part of a 3-county team. We have Clallam, Port Jefferson, and down south of Kitsap. And and there's 5 teams in that whole region. We're one of the 5, so that does this work. So, okay, is that it? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim. And now the ushers will come among you to receive the offering, and additional ways of giving will be projected on the wall. Please join me in our offering words. This fellowship is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it.
There once was a cat with mice and some tasty numbs. One day when the critters come, we'll eat till our bellies are full.
Well, the gang was bored and morale had dipped till one of the seeds grew green catnip. They sniffed and they snacked and they all got ripped. They all had, that's right.
Soon may the Kittyman come with birds and mice and some tasty numbs. One day when the critters come, we'll eat till our bellies are full.
Well, the heads were hung when the morn was nigh. The nip was strong and they all got high. The bellies were shrunk and their bowls still dry. Bring us a mice to pay.
Soon may the Kittyman come with birds and mice and some tasty numbs. One day when the critters come, we'll eat till our bellies are full. Soon may the Kittyman come with birds and mice and some tasty numbs. One day when the critters come, we'll eat till our bellies are full.
Oh, so much fun on a Sunday morning. Thank you, choir. As I said, as you may have heard, it's so much fun on a Sunday morning. This time is set aside for joys and sorrows. We recognize that our personal joys and sorrows are only a fragment of the joys and sorrows of the larger community of life, and so we're placing the first stone today, thinking in particular of Pride Month, celebrating the LGBTQI plus community, and pledging our ongoing support and work towards a future in which we can all live our most authentic lives. From Sean Risley, a baby was born in Syracuse, New York yesterday. His name is Fazl, meaning bountiful gift and grace. May he have a life of meaning and happy associations. Lucky child to have two such caring and well-meaning parents. I was the first babysitter for his father, and it is a joy to see life come round again so well. Welcome, Fazl. And a candle of joy, celebrating this day, June 9th, the 40th wedding anniversary of Sharon and Bob, and I haven't said this name aloud before, so I may get it wrong. Schlentner? Did I get it? Woo! And then a final stone, holding in our hearts these joys and sorrows, and also thinking of the joys and sorrows that remained held quietly in our hearts. Thank you. Our meditation today is a somewhat different meditation. I came upon a speaking of a prayer for pride that I found just absolutely enchanting, and so we're going to see that as part of our meditation today. So not as quiet, not as contemplative, but I hope nourishing and uplifting. Let's take a deep breath together. And relax. Let our shoulders fall back and settle into our seats. And let us begin. Peg, we might want to move down.
When I Google prayer for queer kids, the first hit is all sin.
Asking God to force repentance for what I call holiness. For what I call holiness. Holiness. Holiness.
Holiness.
And so I yell. I swear and I rage and I feel the heat of fury mixed with protection.
I swear, I rage, and I feel the heat of fury mixed with protection.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
That thing they despise, I call sacred.
Sacred.
Sacred. This being oneself.
This being oneself.
in a world that suggests repentance with a tone of holier-than-thou damnation.
Nope, not here. Not in this house.
Not here. Not in this house.
Not in this house.
There will be no repenting for the courage to love honestly, for the ways your gender beckons you to bloom.
There will be no repenting
for the courage to love honestly,
for the ways your gender beckons you to bloom.
No, this is a prayer for the queer kids.
This is a prayer for the queer kids.
This is a prayer for the queer kids.
This is a prayer for queer kids. A ring of fire.
A ring of fire protecting the Eden that exists inside of embodied love.
That exists inside of embodied love.
Protecting the Eden that exists inside of embodied love.
In this house.
In this house, we speak only of the holiness and existing honestly.
In this house, we speak only of the holiness and existing honestly.
We speak only of the holiness and existing honestly.
In living and loving fully.
in living and loving fully.
In existing honestly, in living and loving fully.
My prayer for queer kids is this.
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 May you find the people who love you fiercely.
May you find the people who love you fiercely.
May the God of grace fill your lungs with life when people leave you gasping through tears.
May you know in your bones that you can never be separated from all that is sacred.
May you know in your bones that you can never be separated from all that is sacred.
Because it exists inside you.
Because it exists inside of you.
It exists in every gesture of love you dare to offer the world.
In every gesture of love you dare to offer the world.
A salve to the soul bruise of anyone who believes they are only somewhat worthy.
A salve to the soul bruise
of anyone who believes they are only somewhat worthy.
An act of holy defiance. Holy defiance.
Holy defiance.
You, my dear, are glorious.
You, my dear, are glorious.
You, my dear, are glorious.
Just as you are.
Just as you are. You, my dear, are glorious, just as you are.
Just as you are, now and forever.
Now and forever. Now and forever.
Now and forever.
Now and forever.
Now and forever. Amen.
Now and forever. Amen.
Now and forever. Amen.
Readings, right? So you should sit down. Yeah. You would think we didn't do this every week, wouldn't you? The first reading is a favorite of mine from Marj, To Be of Use. The people I love best jump into work headfirst without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves to an ox like a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward. who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go in the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire must be put out. The work of the world is as common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust, but the thing done well has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they want to be used. The pitcher cries out for water, and a person for work that is real.
The second reading is entitled On the Corner of New and Union by Bob Janice Dillon, not the Bob Dylan you might think. On the corner of New and Union, the crossing guard asks me where I'm headed. Now I'm 38 years old. I've been across the street and back again, if you know what I mean. I mumble my thanks and wave a hand, hoping to transmit in one gesture both an acknowledgement and a release from duty. I'm okay, I tell her, just fine. No such luck. She strides into the intersection, holding aloft her red badge of courage, making of her ordinary frame a colossus of roads. She halts the world. In this case, one, maybe two cars sitting in park, their occupants mute witnesses to the spectacle of a 6'4" man being helped across the road. I'm determined to make the best of it. As a father and as an ardent promoter of the public welfare, I remember, a deep and pronounced respect for crossing guards and things of that nature. I try and give words to my appreciation, but the crossing guard is out in front of me again. They told me to cross the children. Well, I figure everybody's somebody's child. Sometimes people ask if God exists, where she is, and why it takes him so long to pick up the phone. People ask just how God manages, on top of everything else, to really, truly love everyone. Everyone. Even those people. Those are real questions, although the answers may be a little bit hard to grasp in these little hands of ours.
Easy on the earth, lightly on the water. Remember this place is for your sons and daughters. Easy on the earth, lightly on the water. Remember who this place is for.
Easy on the earth,
lightly on the water. Remember this place is for your sons and daughters. Easy on the earth, lightly on the water. Remember who this place is for.
Choir, could you just hang out there for a second? Am I right? This is the last time. Yeah, the last time that you're on hiatus for the summer.
We take vacation on the
They are taking vacation in the summer, so our hardworking choir, our hardworking volunteer director, Pat. You can sit down now. I just wanted to be sure that we gave them appropriate appreciation for all the gifts of music that we received through the year. I tell you, we are blessed. You know? You guys got that? Okay. There we are. Okay. Here we are. Again, I say, you would think I didn't do this every week. This afternoon, as you've heard, we're going to be doing the business of the church as we approach the end of the fiscal year and our church year. And as happens, as we move towards summer, the schedule of committee meetings and classes and formal religious education classes, all of that kind of loosens up, and friends and members discover other amusements for their summer Sunday mornings. I assume we're like everybody else, and attendance kind of drops off as the summer comes on. Too many beaches to walk, too many trails to follow in the woods. Many decades ago, there were a lot of Unitarian Universalist churches that closed during the summer. Y'all aware of this? Back especially in New England. Some decades ago, one of my colleagues wrote up a list of why churches would close in the summer, and they're so good that they should be shared. Not that I think we should close in the summer, but they're worth at least considering. Patrick noted that Unitarian Universalists are the only group that God can trust out of his sight. For 2 months, just for 2 months. Another possibility is that the summer hiatus is our UU revolt against the Calvinist work ethic. We close in the summer to save energy. Closing is ecologically sound. And of course, there's the traditional, we've always done it that way. To everything, there is a season, a time to be open, and a time to be closed. UUs, all of them, are working on their master's degrees. Taking the summer off just makes sense. And a final one that will only make sense to some of you out there. All Unitarian Universalist ministers drive good humor trucks during the summer. Sometimes I'm just struck by the existence of congregations, of churches, of all these kinds of gatherings at all. I really am. I mean, they exist and we show up and are awkward and quirky creatures, and we somehow find a way to be in community more or less. Don't you sometimes find yourself wondering the same thing? What in the world is this thing, right? That we offer coffee and cookies and classes, we serve on committees, we help keep the building maintained. Some folks actually step into leadership, okay? Maybe their arms were twisted a little bit, but I mean, we've all been around long enough to know what kind of trouble groups of people get into and how hard human relationships can be at the best of times. And we've not been in the best of times for a lot of years now, and yet here we are. Here we are, trying, succeeding sometimes, failing sometimes, and doing it over and over again. Learning, exploring, getting lost, getting found. All of it is community, and all of it is always a work in process. My colleague Bob Dylan Janis, who wrote the poem that Peg read, captures, I think, some of that wildness and wonder of this whole community-making process. I mean, don't you just love the crossing guard? She says, everyone is someone's child. she's going to cross him whether he wants to be crossed or not. She does her duty and makes sure that all 6'4" of Bob gets safely across the street. And just that makes Bob wonder about God. Sometimes people ask if God exists, where she is, and why it takes him so long to pick up the phone. People ask just how God manages, on top of everything else, to really, truly love everyone. Everyone. Even those people. These are real questions. Although the answers may be a little hard to grasp in these little hands of ours. I hope it's who we are most of the time, the folks who make sure that we cross the street safely, and also the ones crossing. When we're doing it right, we're playing both of those roles in our community. It's what we do together. There's a story from the book How Can I Help by Ram Dass and Paul Gorman. Anybody familiar with the book? It's from years ago. In it, the narrator gets a call from the Gallup poll organization. You remember this story, any of you who read it? It's like one of my favorite stories in the entire world. The topic is about how much time people spend helping. They note that it gets a little Alice in Wonderland-ish, quoting from the book here. You all are crazy. How much time are people spending? Are people helping? What kind of question is that? Tell Gallup he's nuts. The woman calling started to laugh as well. I know, that's what I said too, but what can I tell you? It's a job. She was sort of whispering, which made me laugh more. We got into this conspiratorial, infectious laughter about it all. When we stopped laughing, I asked, is that helping? She said, I guess so, sort of, but why was it? I said, that's your job. You tell me why. And then I threw in, we were trying to make the best of a nutty situation. In fact, that's what I'm doing all of the time. That's it. I want you to put me down in the Gallup poll as someone who helps all the time. More laughter. She says, we don't have a category for all the time. Oh, ye of little faith. But we do have a line here that says, all of the above. At this point, I didn't know if she was kidding, but I went for it. Perfect. Perfect. Put me down under all of the above. I am very all of the above. In fact, you have to put everyone down as all of the above. Everyone's trying to make the best of a nutty situation. Gallup can release a poll saying, everybody in America is helping. She said, I wish I had the nerve. Maybe I'll do it on alternate answers. 1 out of every 2 people in America is helping. The other half is being helped. Months later, the poll results are released. 1 out of 2 Americans spend time volunteering. Now, this is the kind of thing I think of when I think of congregational life. We are in ever-shifting roles in our participation, helping and being helped all the time. We help by making coffee on Sunday morning. I want you to know how critical that is. Or by serving in leadership or teaching a class or even taking a class. We take flowers to someone who needs cheering up. We call a friend we haven't seen in a while. We do all of that important work of minimizing our impact on the planet. Or we sing in the choir. Or we do one of the 1 million or more bits of work that are needed to create this community. Even just being here on Sunday morning, even that is helping. Marj Piercy, in her poem, lauds the work and lauds those who join in the work and reminds us of those artifacts that are evidence of work in the world. She says the work of the world is as common as mud. Botched, it smears the hand, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras made for for wine or oil. Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were meant to be used. The pitcher cries out for water to carry and a person for work that is real. I have to say that I sometimes despair about the artifacts of work in congregational life. So many pieces of paper. The agenda for the meeting, then the minutes for the meeting, then the report of the minutes, and then the results of the task force, not to mention the position paper that outlines the necessary policies that have to be written, and then the subsequent policies that have to be written okay. Who's on the governance committee? Right? So many meetings, so many emails. In the Time for All Ages, I meant to ask the kids why we come to church. Years ago, this was a Time for All Ages. One of them answered that if we didn't come to church, we wouldn't have as much to do. She did not understand, when I asked her this, why the adults burst into hilarity. And she had no idea how right she was. And yet, these are exactly the kinds of things that make possible what results we have and the purpose of those policies and minutes and meetings that enable the work that is real, the crafting of a life of meaning and purpose in the midst of fellow travelers and companions. That's what we're doing with all those emails and all those reports and all that paper. Being together in crafting a life of meaning and purpose with one another. Making a difference, if only for a child whose questions have a place. A child who needs to hear that meditation we heard this morning. If only for an adult who is longing for a moment of hope, a word that gives them courage when the world feels dark. If only gaining the courage to do what is needed, seeing that it is possible in the midst of community. These words by my colleague George Odell describe it well. He says, we need one another when we mourn and want comfort. We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid. We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves. We need one another when we strive to accomplish some great purpose and realize that we cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumph with. We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we try to endure and stand again. And we need one another when we come to die and seek gentle hands to prepare us for that journey. All our lives, he says, we are in need, and others are in need of us. On this day, when we gather to do the business of the church, and as we slide into these quieter summer months, I want us all to remember that this is why we do the business of the congregation, by holding meetings and generating agendas and minutes and reports and the seemingly endless number of announcements and weekly updates and work parties, and yes, even the potlucks, because we need one another. We need one another in our work of being and becoming, in our ways of loving the world and each other, and in all the joys and the sorrows and the muddling through life. In it all, we need one another. Let us never forget. So may it be. Let's Take a deep breath, friends. Let's join in our closing song, number 1017 in the Teal book, if you'd like it. Words will be projected. Please be seated. Our exceptionally brief closing words are from my colleague Sydney Wild-Nugent. In this community, we give and receive. May we go forth now to share the bounty of the love. So may it be. Amen. Join with me in our chalice extinguishing words, please. We extinguish our flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, the fire of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.